Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to run various experiments and tests to output the highest possible DPS on the training dummy. I'll introduce several setting changes and give you a brief review of different item sets. The content might be a bit complex today, and at the end of the video, I'd like to share a personal dilemma I've been having lately. Let's get started. First, let's adjust the inner way. Art of Resistance is an inner way I usually use to boost stability as a tank. However, we don't need that for a DPS test. So, I'll swap it out for Battle Anthem. To be honest, I've been keeping Adaptive Steel at rank 0 while focusing on getting Exquisite Scenery to rank 6 as fast as possible. Because of that, I hadn't been using Battle Anthem. But this time, even if it delays reaching rank 6 for Exquisite Scenery, I'm going to upgrade Battle Anthem to rank 4. My priority right now is to capture a video showing the highest possible DPS on the dummy. My final inner way setup is Morale Chant, Exquisite Scenery, Battle Anthem, and Adaptive Steel. This is a pure DPS setup that completely ignores tanking stats. Now, let's talk about the DPS rotation. The rotation I showed you last time was one I came up with on my own, without looking at advanced info from the Chinese qianye server. It was a cycle where I squeezed in Soaring Spin to eke out every bit of DPS. However, I realized it might not be the most efficient since I developed it in isolation. Where Winds Meet is a game where the meta or future site is already established in China. The most efficient methods have already been figured out over there. So, this time, I studied how moblade users on the qianye server handle dummy tests, and I'm going to follow their lead. Next up, gear sets. I'll be testing both the Ivorybloom Set and the Rainwhisper Set. My prediction is that Rainwhisper will be slightly stronger. This is because my critical rate is already so high that I might not benefit much from Ivorybloom's perks. Alright, everything is ready. Let's begin the DPS test. First, I'll compare my original rotation with the qianye server's rotation. Note, to follow the qianye rotation properly, you absolutely need the Formbend Set, because it extends the charge attack damage buff by 2 seconds. Well, one thing is for sure, the qianye server's rotation is definitely more efficient than the one I created. For the next step, I'll swap the Ivorybloom Set for the Rainwhisper Set and measure the DPS again under the same conditions. Tests are complete. Let's compare Ivorybloom versus Rainwhisper. What do you think? Not much of a difference, right? I actually expected Rainwhisper to perform better. Since my character already has a high crit rate, I'm not fully utilizing Ivorybloom's strengths. The proof is in the results. Both sets yielded a 72% crit rate. Even though I didn't gain much from Ivorybloom's extra crit, the overall DPS ended up being very similar. My crit rate is already excessively high, well over 60%. If you're watching this and your crit rate is currently low, I highly recommend the Ivorybloom Set for PvE. Securing an extra 5 to 10% crit rate through this set will result in a noticeable DPS boost for the moblade. Seeing these results has reaffirmed my decision. I will definitely stick with the Ivorybloom Set for multiplayer PvE. Here's why: in the early stages of farming when you haven't rolled crit rate on your gear yet, that extra 5 to 10% from the set is incredibly practical. Also, the Ivorybloom Set allows you to freely swap between tank and healer roles. In a game like this, being able to play multiple roles with limited resources is a huge advantage. It keeps the gameplay from getting stale. Now, let's discuss armor sets. First, I only use the Formbend Set for DPS testing. It increases shield duration by 2 seconds, which applies to both the moblade shield and the golden body mythic skill. This obviously improves your stability as a tank. But more importantly, it also extends the duration of the 30% charge attack damage buff. Keep that in mind. Next is the Eaglerise Set. I like this one for a very simple reason, the 6% damage reduction. To trigger the set effect, you need to deal damage over time, but since we always use toxic powder, that's not an issue. Personally, I think Eaglerise is the best for PvE, but that's just my opinion. Then there's the Moonflare Set, which you can farm alongside the Rainwhisper Set. It's decent, but the 60-second cooldown is a major drawback. Is a buff with a 1-minute cooldown really that noticeable in PvE? I'm honestly not sure. I get a lot of questions about PvP gear sets in the comments, but honestly, I don't have a clear answer. I reached mythic rank in PvP quite easily, but once you hit that rank, playing moblade in PvP becomes extremely difficult and, frankly, not very fun. So, I'm currently taking a break from PvP. Because of that, I can't confidently recommend specific PvP gear yet. I plan to test various sets in the upcoming Guild War, and I hope to share those reviews with you so we can figure out the optimal PvP setup together. Let's look at innerways again. For the DPS test, I used Exquisite Scenery, Morale Chant, Battle Anthem, and Adaptive Steel. However, I only use that for testing. In actual multiplayer PvE, I'll drop either Battle Anthem or Adaptive Steel to equip Art of Resistance. It extends shield duration by 6 seconds, which massively boosts tanking stability and keeps the charge attack damage buff up longer. Since I already pushed Battle Anthem to rank 4, I'll keep that and swap out Adaptive Steel for Art of Resistance. In multiplayer, our goal as moblade users shouldn't be to hit the absolute maximum DPS. While damage matters, tanking stability is our priority. That's how we ease the burden on our party's healer. If you want pure, extreme DPS, there are better weapon combos than an moblade tank. Never forget, we are tanks before we are DPS. Since so many of you asked about the moblade DPS rotation, let me break it down clearly for you. Activate the Stormbreaker Spear Q skill. Use the Stormbreaker Spear special skill. Crucial part here, as soon as you see the first hit land, immediately cancel it with the Parry key and swap to the moblade. You'll need fast fingers for this. The rest is what we already know. Activate the moblade shield and go ham with charge attacks while the damage buff is active. You can stop at 2 hits or go for the follow-up, the total damage isn't drastically different. The key is to animation cancel with the Parry key the moment you see the damage numbers from the final hit. Also, remember that using the moblade shield skill before the charge attack buff ends will refresh the duration. Now, I have a small correction from my previous guide regarding critical rate. If we read the tooltip, it says crit rate is capped at 80% for monsters level 81 and above. Logically, this implies there is no cap for monsters level 80 and below, right? If so, we can push our crit rate to the limit to ensure every hit is a crit. When I wear the Ivorybloom Set, my crit rate reaches 63.9% plus 22.7% plus 5%, which is a staggering 91.6%. In actual tests against a level 71 dummy, I saw crits landing even beyond the 80% cap. So, it's reasonable to assume the 80% limit only applies to higher level mobs. Against lower level mobs, there is no limit. If there's no cap against lower level mobs, the Ivorybloom Set becomes even more valuable since it adds that extra 5 to 10%. Please keep this in mind. For a detailed breakdown on how to calculate moblade crit rate, check out my previous guide video. The second correction is about precision rate. In my last guide, I said moblade users don't need to worry about precision. While it's true that moblade's charge attacks never trigger abrasion, you'll never see those gray damage numbers, there's more to it. If a non-precision hit occurs, it manifests as affinity damage instead of abrasion. When this happens, you lose the chance to trigger a critical hit entirely. Affinity damage is shown as orange numbers. To put it simply, if you see orange numbers, affinity damage, during your moblade charge attacks, it means that hit was a non-precision hit. The conclusion? It's recommended to maintain a precision rate between 95% and 100%. Please factor this into your gear settings. This doesn't mean crit rate is less important, crit is still king, but you do need to secure a baseline of precision as well. As I wrap up this video, I want to share a personal dilemma. Up until now, I've tried to avoid looking at leaked content or advanced info from the Chinese server. If I know everything that's coming beforehand, it takes away the joy of discovery for me. It feels like getting spoiled for a movie before I've even seen it. However, to succeed on YouTube with where wins meet content, knowing the CN server info is almost mandatory. That's how you stay ahead of the curve and deliver the latest news and guides as fast as possible. This is the same reason why I recommended things like the Golden Body, Mythic Skill or the Ivorybloom Set. I tested them myself, found them to be surprisingly good, and shared them with you, though I got a lot of heat for it. Since I'm sharing what I learned through my own gameplay, there's a chance some info might be slightly off. Without following the CN meta, it's hard to grow a channel, and I end up introducing niche builds rather than the optimal ones. But if I study every piece of CN info just for the sake of the channel, I lose the fun of playing the game myself. I love playing where wins meet with the excitement of what's the next update, or what surprise is waiting for us. What do you guys think? Should I start bringing in real-time news from the CN server like other creators? Honestly, I'm hesitant, and it's been on my mind a lot lately. I just wanted you to know where I'm coming from. Anyway, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and hit the like button, it really helps me out. Thanks for watching. As a bonus, I've included a short clip of a quick E-Dao takedown in the guild-breaking army content. Hope you enjoy watching.